Shohei Ohtani is a Los Angeles Dodger, and Jonesy has some thoughts about it. This is Flashing the Leather.
This Otani guy. Ah.
$700 million bum.
Should we continue to chat?
Yeah. Welcome
Should we
to Flashing
railroad
the
it
Leather,
again?
everybody. This is Jonesy. I'm the Iceman, Matt Freites, and we are here for a very quick episode because Shohei Ohtani is a Los Angeles Dodger, as I mentioned at the top, and Jonesy has a lot of thoughts on this. But just to lay the groundwork for this kind of quick chat here is Shohei Ohtani is a Los Angeles Dodger, 10 years, $700 million. And from what I understand, $680 million of that is being deferred until after the length of the contract. Is that correct?
Yeah, about 97% of the contract value is deferred.
Yes. So this is unprecedented for many reasons, obviously. And I think that we've had a couple of weeks to percolate on it and think about it. And we both have some thoughts, and I thought it would be interesting to kind of talk through those very raw, unscripted thoughts because this changes a lot of things. Now, I want to say that you and I have been advocates of signing this guy. And last time we talked about the risks that come along with that because of the fact that he is not going to play outfield next year. He's not going to pitch, and he's going to be what seems like a glorified hitter or a glorified DH now. But when we look at the length of the contract, I think that there are a lot of things to take into consideration. But I think the most interesting aspect, not that he's a Dodger, not that he got paid a lot of money, but the fact that it's being deferred. And that, I think, is the talking point. So let's start with you on just the thought of it, because you've predicted this many times. You have been, he's going to be a Dodger.
Yep.
I didn't agree with you. And for a microsecond, he was a Toronto Blue Jay.
Yeah, I mean, I want to take it from the beginning a little bit because it has been a roller coaster of emotions. It was Otani wanted complete silence on negotiations.
Yes.
It's very hard to do that. Then you started hearing rumors, and I, frankly, when I heard the Toronto rumor and I heard that he took an airplane out to Toronto, I got very excited because I even texted you. I'm like, can we see Otani on the East Coast? Can we get a 7 p.m. game and actually watch this guy? Because that's been one of my gripes about watching West Coast baseball is like the Mike Trout and then the Otani. Both you can't. It's hard to watch.
So I want to cut you off for a second because I want to ask you.
Yeah.
The silence part.
Oh yeah.
That was also interesting because prior to this whole process, his team, I don't even think he said it, but his representation said that if these teams leak anything about who he's talking to, that they're not going to be considered. And at first I thought, okay, that's kind of neat, right? Have a little bit of privacy because of the cultural aspect. I think that's where that comes from. Yeah. But also that could mean that he doesn't sign anywhere because if they really wanted to call his bluff, they would all leak it and then he'd be forced to make a decision.
Yeah, very true. I mean, can I just start out with a little bit of a conspiracy theory
Sure.
here? First of all, speaking of the Dodgers, right after he said, if you speak, I'm done with you.
Yes.
The Dodgers came out and said, we're talking to Otani.
Dave Roberts said it live, and he kind of almost hesitated like he shouldn't say it. And I think the conspiracy theory is, in my opinion, the Dodgers were the only
team.
There's no other way.
There was not any other team.
$700 million, no other team was going to match that. Not the Giants, not the Yankees, not the Red Sox, not the Blue Jays. Certainly not the Blue Jays.
First of all, we don't know what he was offered or who offered what. The details are still pretty concealed. What if the Giants did make him that offer? Does he still want to be a Dodger? Because here's the thing. Here's what I think. I don't think there was ever any Toronto situation.
No.
That was a rumor. I don't think there was ever. The Red Sox were kind of peppered in there. There's some other teams here and there. Mostly it was West Coast. But it was like, no, we had heard rumors it's probably going to be the Dodgers from just analytics, people talking. But I don't think there was any other team.
No.
And that gave him leverage to do whatever he wanted, which is what he did. And when I saw $700 million over 10 years, $70 million a year, my first reaction was, okay, that's a good offer. Then we start hearing about the details of the deferment. And I'm thinking, okay, smart money move, but if the Dodgers were the only team, he kind of came in and kind of railroaded baseball. Nobody else had a chance.
Yes, that is the aspect of this that I think is interesting. And I don't want to dislike the guy because of this, because in the market, right, Shohei Ohtani knows what he is worth, should believe in what he's worth,
Yeah.
and should go and get whatever the highest bidder is willing to pay, right? It's not really his job to police the idea of, well, we don't want to overpay, right? His representation, his agent, is being paid to do a specific job. And the agent, quite frankly, and I'm not even sure if it's the agent or if it's the Dodgers, but either one of those parties or collectively, you're absolutely right. And they railroaded baseball, but you know who they really railroaded the most were those small market teams who never had a chance at this. But now it's like, wait a minute,
With the deferment.
the deferment. The deferment is the most interesting aspect because the
It
Dodgers,
is.
quite frankly, don't need to do that. And what they have done now is set a precedent for other teams to do this. And I hope that maybe it's a precedent that small market teams can now build upon. But I don't think so because I don't know if they have the financial flexibility in those deferred years to continue to pay. Because we're not talking about Bobby Bonilla getting paid $1 million a year. The Mets can sweat that away, no problem. Can the Marlins afford to pay $680 million over however long the deferred payments are going to be paid and then still field the baseball team when probably those deferred payments are going to be more than their actual roster and payroll?
Yeah, any team.
Right. Not many teams can do this. And that's why the news came out he was a Dodger. So for me, it was like, oh, okay, that's not interesting. Him being a Dodger is
that
not
was a
interesting.
letdown right away too. Yeah, it was just so predictable, and it frankly was just uninteresting.
I agree. And
we've talked about not liking the Dodgers, okay,
well,
which is not necessarily. We don't have a good reason for that, but we've mentioned it many times.
But let me just say though, it's not about disliking the Dodgers, right? It's just this signing going to this team. It's not interesting because a lot of the high price guys go to this team. This is a team that doesn't have any real restrictions when it comes to the financials. And for the best player of this generation, arguably, to go to that team when he could have gone to, there are plenty of other contenders out there. He would have looked great in just about any of the other uniforms that made the playoff field this year and made an impact. And instead, he's going to go to the Dodgers, where I feel like he's probably going to win a World Series with them eventually. And will it mean more, or will it mean the same as if he went to some other franchise? You know what I'm saying?
Well,
Is that fair?
Yeah, I think it's fair. The thing that's most interesting is this is a player where money may not have been the most compelling reason for him to go to a team. I mean, yes, the money's there over 10 years and over however long this is deferred, but he's clearly chasing rings, and he's probably the only player that could make a move like this. So I do respect the move from both sides, Dodgers and Otani. They're going after rings. They want to win. And I think I saw a detail in his contract where if they don't get players, the Otani contract is void somewhere. I don't know how that would actually happen. But right after they signed Otani, they signed Tyler Glasnow.
Yeah, they
So
traded
solid.
They stole,
and they needed a pitcher, and they went and got him, and they stole him. That was a good value for him. But yeah, it's a function of the players and teams are treating this guy like he's the second coming, and I'm not sure if we're going to get that. The other thing that was interesting was Disney Plus released the Shohei Ohtani Beyond the Dream show.
I saw that.
Like right a few days after, like they were holding on. And I watched about an hour of it. I was trying to watch it with Lucas, but most of it is subtitled and he can't read that fast yet. But man, I mean, it's like that to me seemed like a marketing move as well. Like, look how great this player is. The whole show is, wow, Pedro Martinez sitting down, like looking at a piece of paper that Otani wrote in first grade. And, wow, I can't believe he's talking about arm conditioning and arm care and stretching and all this stuff. And I'm like, the whole thing is just fluffing up how great he is. And I enjoyed that. I don't know a lot. I realized I didn't know enough about Otani other than what I've seen on just media and from like playing MLB The Show. He was on the cover and they had a little thing about him. But yeah, I'm like, wow, they're treating this guy. And when he talks, it's almost like, it's just, this is the last thing I'll say. It's like it's too scripted. I want to say, like, I feel like it's all just a facade a little bit. And maybe that's the culture where you say the right thing all the time.
Sure.
But it's not like what I've been used to with superstars. And maybe that's my disconnect. But yeah, I mean, since going to the Dodgers, my mind, whether it's right, wrong, or indifferent, my mind is already thinking, I'm not sure if I like this guy.
Okay, so that's a good place to segue, right? Because you're not the only person who feels that way. And I can understand people hating on a guy going to that team. I don't know how much of an NBA guy you are, but Kevin Durant, when he went to the Golden State Warriors, when they had come off of breaking the regular season record, didn't get to the didn't win the championship, and then he signs with them. Guy who notoriously couldn't get the job done or hadn't yet gotten to that mountaintop, goes to a super team and gets there and doesn't get the credit that he thought that he was going to get.
Oh, yeah.
So I think it's natural for fans that are not Dodger fans to look at this and say, I don't like him anymore. I don't think that it's fair if we say I don't like him because he went for the money. Everybody would go for the money, okay?
Yeah, I think
let's
that's
just
true.
be honest about that. However, I think that the details that are coming out now where you are 100% right, it does kind of seem like he's almost becoming this mob boss that is dictating how the Dodgers run their business, how baseball now is going to be reconstructed in terms of how big name guys are going to sign, because I understand that Otani is unprecedented in many ways, and you and I have loved watching him play, but this version of Otani now isn't that yet. Will we ever get that? And now, if you're another free agent on the market, you're looking at this number. Like, nobody in their right mind is going to ask for $700 million. But are you looking at it as a superstar and saying, I want to win? And so you're going to give me this treatment because this team deserves to win. And maybe that's the difference, going back to what we talked about the second episode about Mike Trout, who signed the extension to stay, really can't complain that they haven't done anything. And now Otani's like, oh, look, I went to the richest team in the league, deferred my entire salary basically until the end of my playing career so that they can now build a team and build a championship-winning squad.
And have the money to do so.
So it's weird because it's like selfish on one hand, but selfless in the other hand as well.
I mean, that's exactly what the documentary was saying of how selfless he is and how much he just wanted to win and compete and make his team better. Ah, man. But I read this morning. Okay, I'll throw this in there because this hurts competitiveness in the league.
Yes,
it does. Okay.
Yes.
So that would be a blemish on MLB. But what I had read this morning was this topic of deferring payment, and I don't think they were thinking of Otani deferring 97% of his payroll till for 10 years. Not that extreme. But this was on the table during negotiations between the Players Association and MLB when they couldn't come to terms. This was not a big enough topic to cover on the laundry list of topics that they needed to cover.
Might be now.
Because the MLBPA, the Players Association, there were a handful of players that wanted to defer their money because of financial reasons. They want to be in their 50s collecting a paycheck.
Mm-hmm.
And because the Players Association, they're tough negotiators at the table, MLB did not have an opportunity to resolve this issue. It's still, you can do this. It's completely legal. You just defer your payment and you get it. And it doesn't affect luxury tax. It's still, I think it goes down to the annual rate. So they're still going to pay the luxury tax. Small market teams are still going to get a piece of that. But it does make the Dodgers clearly the elephant in the room.
Yes,
they're going to be impossible to beat.
Yes, you say that, but I think transitioning to
impossible.
On the field, though, is we have seen instances, and there are plenty of teams in the league just this past season who had a lot of high-priced talent, and as a collection turned out to just be that, to just be high-priced, right? To take a major league quote out there. And the Dodgers are certainly going to be a force to be reckoned with. They're going to be a regular season juggernaut, no doubt. They're probably not going to be able to be competed with from the likes of the Diamondbacks. So the Diamondbacks, obviously a scrappy young team. Do they have things to build on there? Obviously the Padres, can they finally get over the hump after signing all those high-priced guys?
That window seems closed.
It could be, yes. Especially when you look at how little they performed, and it'll be interesting to see what happens there. So the Dodgers kind of have a chokehold on that division. But team, a collection of players that are high-priced, how do they mesh together? Now, maybe Otani is a glue guy where he can go in there and get the best out of everybody. But I'm going to tell you what, you've got Freddie Freeman, who seems to be a selfless guy. You got Mookie Betts, right? Now you've got Otani. Just so many players there now who are they going to be able to stay out of the spotlight? Because isn't the natural progression of things, or not the natural progression, but like Mookie Betts this year was an MVP candidate. Freddie Freeman was an MVP candidate. And now you're going to add Otani, who theoretically all three of those guys could be MVP candidates. There's only one award. And most likely, I said this as a conspiracy, sort of, that the league is going to do whatever they can to give the award to Otani because he represents the league now. Even more so, he's in a market, because I know that the Angels like to think that they're in LA, but they're not. He's actually in LA proper now, and it matters more.
Yeah,
even though he's on the West Coast, you see Dodger highlights. The Dodgers are going to be on Fox every weekend now. And maybe that's good when you think about it, because maybe that means more eyes on the product. That's something I've been talking about when the World Series is one of the lowest rated World Series in history. And now you've got this guy who's in a major, major market that people actually care about, because the Angels were not polarizing in any way, up or down. The Dodgers are polarizing. You either love the Dodgers or you hate the Dodgers. And now also...
It's the modern-day Yankees.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. But if you're a Yankees fan now, you're like, oh, come on. Now we don't even have that mantle anymore. The Yankees are not that anymore. I'm sorry.
And I've started to like them more, too, as a result.
Let's just calm down, okay? Let's calm down.
Aaron Judge 2 years ago?
Right. But okay.
No, but you're right. It's a good point.
But that's a fun thing to think about, right? Aaron Judge, 2 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
Free agency, was it last? It was last offseason, right?
Last offseason.
Yeah. And that was the talk of the town. Where is he going to sign? Where is he going to sign? He ends up staying with the Yankees, which was
he almost went to the Giants.
Almost did.
Yeah, another blemish for the Giants.
And when you think about that now, you're like, this guy is like, it's like the Prince and the Pauper, basically. But yet, Aaron Judge is making 400 and something million, whatever the contract was, and Otani's like, it's cute, 700 million. And I know that people say, oh my God, that's way too much money for a guy to play sports. I get that, but also this is the market. And
I think the value I'm happy with. I thought he was going to be in the $50 to $60 million a year per range,
we both
especially with the pitching arm. Who knows? But 70, I'm like, that's a good number.
Okay, so now I want to ask you though, if they only get DH, is it still good value?
Not this year.
I don't think so. And you're right. And Dodgers fans probably don't care because they're going to pay $2 million a year for whatever, a DH who maybe hits 30 home runs, drives in 100. That's cool. I think one thing that'll be interesting for Ohtani is being on a team where he doesn't have to be the it guy, because in Anaheim, especially when Mike Trout was hurt, it was the Ohtani show, and expectations come along with that. And you can look at Art Moreno and say, well, you didn't help live up to those expectations. He's not going to have that problem here. He may actually be able to just be another guy on this team. I doubt it, though, because Major League Baseball needs him to elevate the brand. They knew. So, interesting stuff.
I'm very split on the topic. I have to say one more thing. Like, I was walking into your studio today. I told you, I don't know how I'm going to react on your live show and on camera.
You're starting to like him now, aren't you?
Well, of course I like him. I've always liked the guy, but now, like, this move, it just makes me, it's a weird feeling.
It is a weird
And you won't
feeling.
hear this kind of content on MLB radio. I mean, you can't talk bad about this guy on MLB. You go to MLB radio on XM radio, they won't be able to talk badly about him because he's good for baseball, as you said. He's almost like untouchable. So they're just going to celebrate him. Yeah, this is great. But the reality is, you're going to have this juggernaut of a team that's just going to beat everybody potentially every year for 10 years. And it's frustrating because I didn't want him to be a Dodger.
But
that's just the way it is.
To go back to something I've said a lot, I know that you don't buy into this, but when you look at the teams that made the World Series this year, fine teams, right? We talked about that last time. Fine teams, exciting teams if you are a baseball person. But I did say that Major League Baseball isn't super happy with this because these teams, these markets don't move the needle. And I don't want to be full conspiracy on this, but Rob Manfred had to think to himself, this is the best thing that could have happened for us. Because now, even though it hurts competitive balance throughout the majority of the league, it does mean that the face of their sport is going to be in the biggest moments consistently now, unless something happens, unless he gets hurt. And that could happen.
I fully believe that if Rob Manfred has the ability to kind of work his tentacles and make change like that to where they can pump their numbers, he'll do it. He already showed us that he's done it with the Juice Baseball conspiracy,
Yes.
which I fully believe is true. That ball had changed over the years, and he claims up and down it's been the same, and it's just not true. And I'm sure that there is a conspiracy out there to make these big market teams better.
They need it.
Fully believe it. They
They
do.
need the juice. I don't want to be a broken record on this, but the other major sports in this country are surpassing them in terms of consistent fan bases. Like the NFL right now, scoring is down. It's like down for the first time in 20 years. Like it's the lowest it's been in 20 years, and people are still watching it. It doesn't matter. That does not happen in baseball. And you and I are people who will watch baseball mostly regardless. That is not the way your casual fan consumes anything at all. And so for baseball to say, well, yeah, but look at how great the Texas Rangers are outside of that market. If you go and poll 100 people on the street and say, name a Texas Ranger, they may not be able to. And now, if you say, name a Los Angeles Dodger, oh, Shohei Ohtani, isn't he one of those guys? Boom. Major League Baseball wins, no matter what. So they may actually save the sport a little bit for the time that he is there. But if they don't win anything, that is going to be where the fun starts. And people will turn on him in that market if he's hurt a lot, if he doesn't produce. Like, can you imagine if at the start of this contract in May, he's hitting like $189?
Oh, yeah. He's done that in spring training before.
Sure.
Yeah.
Slow starters, that happens a lot, right? Pitchers usually have the advantage, I think, when it comes to the early part of the season because hitters have not gotten their rhythm, their timing.
Well, remember Trey Turner.
Yeah, Trey Turner.
That was a classic example from last year
Phillies
where
hero.
the Phillies the fans were turning on him. It was evident, and you could, and a lot of, the media in Philadelphia is vicious, and that's fine. It's okay to expect a lot out of your big dollar players. But he did turn it around and he made it all worthwhile. And we talked about that. And what if it happens to Otani? How is he going to react? I don't think there's been a time where he's performed poorly.
No, of course. I mean, he may be at the start of his career with the Angels. Remember a couple of years people were saying, oh, has he been overblown? And it took a little bit of time to acclimate to the American game. Baseball's baseball, but it is a little bit different. But I'm interested to see how that goes. And now, of course, we're just reacting to the signing. He's not he has put on the uniform, but he's not actually like played in the uniform. We don't know what's going to happen with that, how the fans are going to embrace him, how the team is going to gel together, because he may not want that attention, but it's going to come with him. The attention is going to be there. The cameras are going to be there. The paparazzi is going to be there while he's taking batting practice, while he's walking to the dugout, while he's taking a piss. It's all going to be there no matter what. And you got the other players in the team who are like, we play with him too. It's a natural human reaction, especially if they start losing. And God forbid they win 115 games and lose in the first round.
Speaking of predicting how many wins they're going to have, what was his wins above replacement last year for the Angels?
I have no idea. Anybody else want to tell me in the comments?
9, 10, maybe higher. I don't know. I can't off the top of my head. How many games did they win last year, the Dodgers, without Otani? 100?
Yeah.
Say 100.
It's like 105.
So they're probably in the range of 110, 100 or plus. But that's when he was pitching.
Yes.
So if you were a betting man and you wanted to put an over/under bet, I don't know what the over/under is out yet, but that's the kind of difference that he could make for your team. And I don't know what the record is for total wins on a season, but he might be getting close to like that 110.
I still think it's the 2001 Mariners who have that record.
Is it?
I believe so. Yes, who got unceremoniously taken out by the Yankees in their dynasty mode.
Oh yeah.
I think it was like 116 or something, but no, they could be. And the Dodgers are going to coast through the regular season, no doubt. But like we talked about when we were breaking down the playoffs, sometimes that's not a good thing. Sometimes.
I know. And we saw it last year, like Kershaw. Clearly a great regular season pitcher. Executes well.
Kind of old now.
He's getting a little bit old. Long in the tooth.
Old by baseball standards.
Yeah,
he's younger than we are, but he's old by baseball standards. Let's be clear.
Yeah. He's probably starting to feel that, and you see it, and I saw this in Max Scherzer too. We both talked about him extensively, but you get players that have been doing this for the arm's not meant to move like that.
No, it's
Throw
not.
a baseball. It eventually doesn't. It does break down. So you might see postseason Kershaw implosions. You might see, their Freeman and Betts went like 1 for 20 or
Yeah.
something.
It happens.
It does happen.
Good players struggle at times, and he's
They have
never
the
been in the
bye.
postseason.
They can complain about the bye again.
Yeah, they can. The thing is, though, the postseason is a different animal entirely, and he's never been. He's never been.
Oh, yeah.
He really hasn't. And it's insane. Like, when our children are older and we talk to them about this time period, we can say that the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim had 2 of the best players of this generation and had nothing to show for it, which is still amazing to me, right? And now I'm curious what Mike Trout does, because honestly, the team has said they're not going to trade him. But if I'm Mike Trout, I'm like, look, I can't, right? Because I'm getting hurt at a larger clip now. I want to go to a contender where maybe I don't have to be the guy anymore, because look, this isn't 2017 Trout, which is what a friend of mine said. But I said 2017 Trout was one of the best players I've ever seen. And there is still a lot of upside with Mike Trout, even 6 years out from that guy.
There is.
You know what I mean?
He's got the chronic back problem,
which is always tough.
There's going to be times where he's going to be out, and look what that did to like Yelich. He had a back problem. He was a superstar, and he did have a good year last year, and he bounced back. But he's got a chronic back problem, and you're swinging a baseball bat. You should be swinging it 100 times a day.
Yeah,
and it does take a toll. I don't know. I hope it would be neat to see Mike Trout bounce to the East Coast. That's what I like to see, the superstars, because I get to watch them. But I would like to see, if a team takes a chance on him and takes that salary over. The other player I wanted to talk about with you was Yamamoto.
Oh yeah, very excited about this.
Please, I hope the Dodgers don't actually get this guy. But
they have a chance.
I think the Mets and the Yankees are talking to him. They do have a chance.
They have a chance because that Japanese connection, the cultural connection, that's one thing I don't think in baseball we take into consideration as much, because there is such a multicultural facet to the game. No longer is it your dad's friend Carl, who just got out of the recliner, who looked like he just got out of the recliner to go play catcher for the White Sox in the early 90s. These guys are coming from the Dominican. They're coming from all over the place now, and now you're going to get Japanese players. And I think that when you're a Japanese player making the switch, it is a big deal to be able to have somebody else to talk to, right? To have somebody else who you can commiserate with about the struggles of adapting to the culture, talking about home, because I have to assume that Otani misses home when he's not there, right? And so Yamamoto should be very fascinating. As you said, I don't want the Dodgers to get him, but he's now going to be measured up to Otani's level.
All I've heard about this guy is good luck facing him next year.
That's what I hear too.
Anybody that faces him next year, good luck.
They said that about Daisuke. They said that about who was the guy for Tanaka, right? For the Yankees. Who actually, Tanaka was a pretty decent pitcher for them.
And he pitched average late in his career as well. But he had some like little moments of genius.
Yes, he did.
And then it broke down other times.
But I'm curious too, because Yamamoto's going to come here and he's going to be compared to Otani whether he wants it or not. And because Otani has set the bar stupid high for these Japanese players now, whereas before a lot of people would say like, "Oh,
that's interesting."
But
I didn't consider them to be like that similar. But yeah,
they're not. Right. But I'm saying like now, when you talk about before, people would look at Japanese players, and when Otani came over, so many frozen cold takes about, "Oh, I'm so glad we didn't get this guy," because they were comparing him to the bar that had been set by other Japanese pitchers and players, which had been kind of mid.
Or, in that example, just not let him bat.
Yeah.
Not let him pitch.
Ichiro, the only
plenty of teams that would have, because if you again, going back to the documentary, there weren't many Japanese teams that would allow him to do both. It was just the ham fighters.
Yeah, great.
they let him bat and pitch, and he's like, okay, that's the team I want to play for.
So we'll check in on that. I don't know what the time frame is for Yamamoto to sign, but I can see him being in New York somewhere, just because I think those teams obviously have the money, because you have to put up the money just to negotiate, and then you have to sign. And I think if you're Yamamoto, you don't want to go necessarily to a team like the Dodgers, because he probably does want to establish himself separate from Otani in terms of your career in the league. Mm-hmm. But I can understand the cultural aspects of it, because the Yankees were sending out all of their former Japanese players to go try and recruit him, like as if they're all going to travel with him. You know what I mean?
The other thing too about what I've seen from Japanese players, and you've mentioned Daisuke, when you bring in a hot shot free agent from Japan and you expect them to be the star,
Yes.
the culture shock is
Agree.
enormous.
I agree.
And it could backfire dramatically. So bringing him in under Garrett Cole, for instance, who is
Sure.
Cy Young winner, still dominant. He's got like 4 pitches that look the same for the first 50 foot and then just break at the last moment. That's the kind of stuff that Yamamoto wants to do. And bringing him in under Garrett Cole, I think, would be beneficial. But even if he comes to the Dodgers, he's the number 1 guy. Comes to the Mets, he's the number 1 guy.
Sure.
That could be a factor. So yeah,
it 100% could be, and we'll track that as it happens. But the Otani thing is yet to play out. Obviously, he hasn't played for them yet. But these are our unfiltered thoughts. Do you have any of these thoughts? Are you on board with this? Are you a Dodgers fan? Do you have to be excited? You can call or text us 703-718-6314, or you can email maddyicemedia@gmail.com. Some of your thoughts. I'm sure most people are very tepid in their thoughts about this, but if you're going Major League Baseball,
Yeah.
TV, radio, they're not saying a whole lot in the negative, and we're not even really either, but we're, as we always do, bringing both sides.
You know what? I already looked at next year's schedule. They're coming to Washington. The Dodgers are coming to Washington in April.
Heckling.
I'll tell you what, maybe we should go into that game and do like a little live stream from the stadium.
Yeah, we can do a live stream from the stadium, and then the live stream can show security escorting us out, because I'm sure that's illegal in some way or another. But that is it for us here. We are talking about Ohtani. He has broken the market. He's broken the mold. It should be fun to watch him play. It's not a guarantee that everybody's going to be on board the way that they had been. But I can tell you what, if you're an Angels fan now, you are devastated because you didn't get anything out of him. I mean, you did, but you didn't. And if you've turned on him now, I guess I can understand how you feel about that. But I think we should try and stay positive. He's still a generational player, and we'll see. Hopefully the Dodgers will continue to lose in the first round, because that's what I want personally, but they're going to be a force to be reckoned with. So if you want to find the show, you can find it on Apple, Spotify, wherever. You can watch us on YouTube if you're listening. You can find us all over social media. But this is Jonesy here. I'm the Iceman, and this is Flashing the Leather.
That's baseball, baby.